Alright. Hello and welcome to Formula One 2019. We're just going to go ahead and try to rejoin the party here. Alright, and here we go as qualifying's underway. Invader, Malenko, Ben, Foursquare on the track right now. Looks like Malenko will be the first driver to hit the start-finish line as he's heading his way down to the double left-hander. 15.5 as we start a soggy qualifying session here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. So yeah, everybody has the intermediates fitted so far. There's no possible way you can really run any faster on the wet compound, but it'll be interesting to see if anybody tries to go out there on a dry compound if the track starts to clear up. We'll see if that happens later in the session. So as Malenko goes through the final chicane in that number 14 dart, heading on to the start-finish straight with 14:40 remaining, he'll start the first timed lap of the session. Everybody but Malenko's teammate, Markle, has taken to the racetrack so far. Ben starts a timed lap. Here comes Invader to the start-finish line. He will start a timed lap. Following him, we have Foursquare. There's a caution in Sector 1. That's Malenko spinning off the top of the hill. And Arouge, and around goes Ben as well. Arouge has taken 2 for 2. And Invader's going around 3 for 3 victims at the top of the hill in Arouge. And Foursquare's the first person to go through there without making a mistake. And Dan gets an auto spin curve on the back half of the circuit on his out lap. So the only person who's on a real timed lap right now is Foursquare, as he didn't make a mistake on his. Very forth-telling audio from Ben. Dan on the run to the chicane. And we'll ride with Foursquare as we now crack into 12 minutes remaining, and around goes Dan on the corner exit of the final corner. So he's not going to be up to speed as he crosses the start-finish line to start his timed lap. So everybody at the moment has made a mistake on their qualifying lap initially, somehow, some way, besides Foursquare, as he now goes up the hill and heading into the chicane that'll take him back to the start-finish straight. Malenko heads back to the pit lane. And I think the only quality lap time we get this first time around is a 2-minute 3:28 set from Foursquare on the intermediate compound. Very treacherous track conditions out there. Invader will cross the start-finish line second with a 2:18.959. Ben, Malenko have made their way back to the pit lane. Now we watch Dan. I don't believe he made a mistake at the top of the Rouge yet. Or at the top of the Rouge. And now heading his way down to the double left-hander, will start to work his way through the back half of the circuit. Just over 11.5 minutes remaining. Markle still has yet to see the racetrack. Malenko and Ben decide to abort their first laps, as rightfully so. Um, the top of a Rouge, Radeon, really got out 3 of the 4 drivers on their opening lap. 3 of them going for wild rides. Treacherous track conditions proving to be difficult for even seasoned veterans of Formula 1 league racing here. So Dan now heads his way through the final corner. He did spin coming to start his timed lap, so he will go second quickest, a 2:02.745. 3 lap times down, 3 lap times to go, but really only one driver will say that that lap time was even somewhat legit. Foursquare, he went out another lap on that set of tires. He's coming to the start finish straight with a 1:59.033. Now on 2 lap old intermediate tires. Opening up now to a 3 3/4 of a second gap over second position on the charts as we have less than 10 minutes remaining. Invaders made his way back into the pit lane. We'll see if Dan goes again. He's still in ERS mode number 5. And he heads down to the double left-hander. It's like it'd be something to see if he can make it on fuel. The track is drying. The rain has slowed or has come to a stop. DRS is enabled. So these treacherous opening session conditions in the wet, almost getting 3 drivers to retire early in this session. Those drivers now essentially will have their chance to redeem themselves on a drier racetrack. Dan heading up the hill has ran out of the advantage of ERS, and he will head back into the pit lane. He sees no further advantage to running to finishing the lap time on the intermediate compound. So here comes Foursquare in a run up to the chicane. He's most likely seeing his way to the pit lane now as we approach 8 minutes remaining.
I also had a broken wing.
Wow.
With that lap. That lap was with a broken wing.
So, yeah, I did see you spin off the final corner.
Nah, that's not where I broke. I broke it turn before that.
Right, so now, under 8 minutes remaining, a clear racetrack, a drying racetrack.
Yeah, a drying
We'll see
racetrack.
when these drivers think it's best to go out there and say a flying lap on a track they haven't touched on dry compound tires yet. So it's been a hectic qualifying session. 7:30 remaining here in qualifying. Foursquare tops the chart, a 1:59.0.
I got 8 minutes on the dot. Yeah,
here we go again. Apparently, my timing and scoring is off by 40 seconds again. Just like it was last week. That's a bad issue. But, we're somewhere in the midst of the middle of our qualifying session here. No drivers on the track at the moment, but all drivers waiting in the wings on soft compound tires, ready to attack a racetrack that may or may not be dry by the time they head out there. Foursquare right now top of the charts, a 1:59.033. Dan, second quickest, a 2:02.745. Invader, Zim, the only other driver to set lap time, a 2:18.959. Those are the 3 drivers to take times. Dan and Invader's lap times were experiencing some off-track or scenic maneuvers.
I hit a wall.
So, I would say we've broken into the 7-minute bracket now. So, under 7 minutes remaining here in qualifying. We await the track to be dried. Or not. Somebody is deciding that it's best time to head out.
Who's gonna test it?
I'll be Foursquare. The first driver out on the racetrack as we approach the 5-minute bracket.
Everybody watch him, see what happens.
So, out onto the racetrack. 5 minutes remaining. Foursquare is the first driver to touch.
6 minutes.
6 minutes remaining. 6 minutes remaining. Foursquare will be the first driver to touch the drying pavement. Invader will follow suit. The prediction from Ben, we still wait. Dan, Ben, Malenko, and Markle still has yet to see the track himself, but the other three have taken time on a soggy racetrack, or has attempted to take time on a soggy racetrack. We still have yet to see Markle. So, that being said, Markle would be the one at a disadvantage should the race be in wet conditions. Dan now has made his way onto the racetrack. Now, we approach 5 minutes remaining. We watch Foursquare to see if he is able to push the car to the limit. Here we go, up the hill and into the chicane we go. Foursquare is about to be the first driver to set a hot lap on a dry racetrack on those soft tires. Here we go. The back wing is open. He's in ERS mode, number 5, up the gears, full song, and into turn number 1, the hairpin. Invader now has started his timed lap on the soft tires on a dry racetrack. Dan working on his way to the run to the chicane. Off of the Kemmel straight comes Foursquare. And through the chicane at the end of the Kemmel straight, heading his way down to the carousel. So we'll see what Foursquare is able to do as he rounds the double left-hander. Now here comes Ben and Malenko. We still await Markle to take time on this racetrack, and this is a large racetrack. So Markle literally would not be able to leave the pit lane any later than like 2 minutes and 30 seconds to set a lap time on the track. As we now have about 3 minutes remaining here in qualifying. We await Markle to take to the racetrack. Now into the chicane we go, and onto the front straight. Here we go, Foursquare to the start finish line. He'll go a 1:46.524. We'll see if he goes again. He's got 40% in the reserve. Here comes Invader off of the final corner. Invader goes even quicker, a 1:46.305. Now we await Dan. Foursquare and Invader have chances to go once again, and Markle has seen the racetrack now. He's on out lap. There's a caution in sector 1. That'd be 4 square on a cooldown lap. Dan, up the hill, here we go. 2 minutes remaining in qualifying. Malenko, Ben, Markle on outlap. And Dan, third quickest of 3, a 1:46.688. And now Ben starts a timed lap as we have about a minute and a half left here in qualifying. So this either goes or it doesn't for Ben. Same thing with Malenko. They have taken at least one lap on this racetrack when it was wet. Markle, seeing the racetrack for his first time, did not take any track time while the track was wet. Here we go, up the hill he goes. There's a caution in sector 2 that I believe would just be a driver on a cooldown lap. Will not be hindering the drivers on fast laps. So here we go into the carousel with Ben. Going a little wide through the center, but trying to get the run on the exit. Attacking the curbing that this racetrack has to offer. So Markle started his one and only time lap. It either goes or it doesn't for Malenko, Ben, and Markle. The caution in sector 3. That'll be Invader coming to cross the start-finish line. And Malenko has a big moment through VS's. Able to keep the car under control. We'll see where he lines up with that mistake. Ben, up the hill we go. And Ben off of the start, onto the start-finish straight. A 1:46.153. He goes top of the charts. Now we wait. Malenko. Both Dart teammates have to cross the start-finish line here. Here we go. Malenko will go 5th quickest with making a mistake. A 1:46.606 after having a big slide on the back end of the circuit. Just imagine what it would have been if he had run his lap perfectly.
I half spun there.
That's what I'm
saying. I literally had to
Okay.
lock up the car and just stop there for a second almost.
I did the same thing going up to fucking Arouge.
I don't get why that's an auto spin curb. I don't.
Anyway, the final driver to take time here in Belgium. Here comes Markle onto the start-finish straight. Markle will go top of the charts, unhindered by no time taken in qualifying, almost a second faster than Ben. A 1:45.180. How does he do it? How does he... He's on a cooldown lap.
He's going slow.
Yeah, he's on. He's. How does he do it? Not a single other lap taken in qualifying, and over or almost a second faster than his next best competition. Are you kidding me?
I think I would have been able to be second, but I don't think it was a 45.1. I think it was a 45, like 9.
Wow. 9. Oh, almost a full second. 97/100ths faster than second place. Beyond baffled, but that is the end of qualifying here for the Belgian Grand Prix Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. 18 minutes from soggy to dry conditions. Arouge almost caught out 3 drivers.
It got me in on my fast lap too.
So here we go. These drivers about to hit the streets here in Belgium.
You know I'm hitting the streets.
Business is about to pick up here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. These drivers about to take part in their formation
I'm ready
lap.
to grow, John.
Here we go. It looks like the race will be dry to begin. So it's a 22 lap race. Let's get set up and then we'll head through the starting grid. Alright, and here we are at the beautiful circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps circuit for the Belgian Grand Prix. 22 laps for the Belgian Grand Prix, and let's go through our starting lineup. On the front row, nearing a second over the person starting beside him, Tyler Markle, and that dart will start on the pole. And in second place, number 24 of Ben. Row 2, we have the number 13 of Invader, and starting alongside of him, the number 79 of Foursquare. And in row number 3, a couple drivers having mistakes in qualifying, the number 14 of Malenko and the number 12 of Dan. That will be your starting lineup here for the Belgian Grand Prix. Here we go. It is the longest track on the F1 calendar so far. Going at just over 4 miles in length. The length of the Kemmel Straight and up the hill to the final chicane on the circuit are the two fastest points on the circuit. The Kemmel Straight, I believe, is a DRS straight, along with the front straightaway. So here we go, the drivers wrapping up their formation laps now. 6 drivers ready to do battle here on a Sunday evening in Belgium.
Uh-oh, I was about to dive on Foursquare there. Just for the fuck of it.
That's crazy.
So here we go, the drivers, they're gridding up. And here we go. It's time to bring the action. We've got 5 red lights. And it's a lights out, and away we go. Markle gets off to an amazing start. Ben trying to file in right there in second. Markle goes wide to get the arc through the hairpin, and away he goes. Malenko up the inside, up 2 spots already from where he started, is able to file into line right in front of the yellow and black number 79 of Foursquare. Invader loses 2 spots, and Dan will stay right where he qualified in the 6th position on the grid. Now we got Invader looking to the left side of Foursquare, not looking to thread the needle with Malenko, about to go 3 wide down the Kemmel Straight here on the opening lap. Foursquare goes back up to 3rd, and around goes Invader, contact with Malenko. At the end of the Kemmel Straight, Malenko did come down a little bit. Ben has taken over the race lead.
Didn't even give me an indicator that he was there.
On Markle. So now Ben to the race lead. Markle fighting back hard up the inside.
I'm sorry, Invader, if I came down here. You didn't even give me an indicator that you were there.
Through the double left-hander we go. Ben leading the charge over Markle now. Markle right on the gear box of that white, blue, and gold number 24. Going wide is Ben, but Markle not close enough to capitalize.
Okay, I almost did.
Foursquare on the podium and looking to join the lead battle here. We're not even done with the opening lap here at Belgium. And now, as we enter the front straightaway for the first time at speed, Ben a 152.400. That is the opening lap Fastest lap going wide through the hairpin is Ben, going over the curbing now to rejoin the racetrack, and Marco's right there on the gearbox. Let's right on board with Marco as he tries to slipstream the number 24 up the hill of Radion, and now onto the Camel Straight we go. Marco looking to the right side of Ben. It's going to be side by side all the way down to Camel Straight, and here we go. DRS not a factor yet. Marco gonna try to outbrake Ben into the corner, and he does so for the time being. He going wide, goes Marco, but Ben has to check up to keep the car under control. Now they both go wide on the exit. Foursquare is loving this. Here comes Ben down the inside into the carousel. Ben going back to the race lead. Now Marco trying to keep the car under control out there on the marbles. Foursquare has joined the battle and is now piling on the pressure for the second position. Marco going wide now through the double left-hander. Not trying to lose touch with Ben. He knows if he's over a second behind Ben, he will not get the glory of opening up the back wing down the straightaways to give him that advantage he would have in trying to overtake the 24, but Foursquare, however, would have all the glory of that right now as we approach the end of lap number 2 here at Belgium. And now Foursquare goes to second over Marco up the hill. Into the chicane we go. Foursquare is able to defend any attack from Marco that time round, but here we go. DRS isn't able. Ben sets the fastest lap. Now Foursquare a 150.707 on the soft tires on lap number 2. And now here we go. Marco will slipstream Foursquare up the hill of Radion now. Foursquare 1.1 out of Ben. Invader has taken to the pit lane now. Foursquare doesn't get the advantage of DRS, but Marco does, but he's not able to make an overtake attempt just yet. But Foursquare is able to slipstream Ben a little bit down to Camel Straight and is now closed within 1 second of Ben. Is now closed down to 0.8 of a second. Malenko looming in the distance, waiting for these drivers to do battle here at Belgium so he can try to make indents into the gap they have over Malenko. And a caution in Sector 1. I believe that'd be Invader just trying to get the speed from the pit lane. So Ben leads barely 1 second over Foursquare, and a big mistake out of Ben through the S's. Holding on to the lead, it wasn't as big as I made it to be, but it is costed him half a second, and gaining now is Foursquare. Up the hill we go, using the slipstream, not even any aid of DRS just yet. Marco now losing touch to Foursquare now, falling just out of a second with contact of Foursquare, but Foursquare looking, searching for the race lead here of the Belgian Grand Prix. As we come to a close on lap number 3, DRS is now a factor. Foursquare sets the fastest lap again, a 149.546. Ben set 1, and then Foursquare came to ruin that party 2 laps in a row now. Marco in the shadows. Now he has a chance to slipstream and have DRS, so it's going to be a slipstream DRS fest down the Camel Straight as all 3 of the drivers go through Radion unscathed. Here we go. Full song down to Camel Straight, and Foursquare looking for the race lead. And there's a caution in Sector 1, and there goes Dan. So Ben to second. Marco had no say that time around, trying to keep the car under control through the chicane at the end of the Camel Straight. Dan is back up to speed now. And Malenko starting to lose touch even more from the battle for the win at the moment.
Oh yeah, I broke my wing like on the start.
So now Ben in the chasing position, looking to stay within touch of Foursquare and try to overtake him once again as we start to approach some opening sections of this racetrack. Foursquare through the technical parts of this racetrack has now opened 9/10 of a second over Ben. Now we can see if he can use the slipstream to his advantage. Foursquare's now opened up over a second on Ben, and Marco is right there to the right side of Ben, but he goes off the circuit, and he's gonna file in right behind the 24 once again. All over the gearbox of the 24. Marco gonna try to outbrake him. No, he doesn't. He plays it safe. Marco trying to get the crossover on the exit. Both of these drivers now over a second behind Foursquare. 149.544 is the fastest lap now out of the white or the yellow and black number 79. A Foursquare out there leading the Grand Prix. Just over a second now over Ben, but Ben is gaining now on the exit of the hairpin. We start lap number 5 of 22. Up Radion we go. Marco looking to the right side again on Ben. This time he's got some position on him. He's got the RS as well. Here we go down to Kellel Straight. Marco looking for second on Ben. Heads up racing side by side through the chicane. Marco, Ben, Marco looking to get the advantage now through the end of the chicane, and he does. Now Marco up to second as they head their way into the carousel. Dan takes to the pit lane now. Here comes Dan on the exit. He will stay in the 5th position. Dan and Invader not having the luckiest of starts here, but anything can happen in auto racing. So now Marco files into 2nd position. He tries to run the circuit to the best of his ability. He did qualify over a second faster than Foursquare. Can he use that to his advantage now and try to chase down the race leader with Ben until Ben looking to the right side now of Marco. Marco had a big moment. Surrenders 2nd position to Ben, but tries to outbrake him on the left side, and around the outside goes Marco back into 2nd position.
That's stupid.
And all that just opens the lead up even more now to 2.4 seconds. Now is the lead Foursquare has over Marco, and Ben goes really wide at the top of Radion. Back wing open on the 24. He looks to the right side of Marco. Now into the chicane we go once more. Ben takes over the 2nd position once again. So looking at strategy now, everybody started this race on soft tires. Invader has since pitted, I believe on lap 2, and has taken mediums. Dan has just recently pitted and is now on fresh soft tires. We'll see how pitting shapes out for these guys later in the Grand Prix. Foursquare, Ben, Marco, Malenko all do have to pit and use a 2nd compound. The gap now 2 seconds between Foursquare and Ben. Ben able to close the gap a little bit on the run up to the chicane. 6 laps complete here at Belgium. Foursquare has a 2-second advantage over Ben and Marco. Marco just falling out of the DRS range of Ben. Well, we have it here. Neither driver able to really indent the advantage the other driver has on one another. Foursquare holding station up front. Now a huge indent from Ben now to cut it under 2 seconds now. .8 and counting, but Ben also opening the gap up to Markle. That is now up to 1.3 seconds. 1.6 seconds the gap now. Up the hill we go. DRS will not be a factor this time round, but if Ben can continue to make the gains he has been making, he is now come equidistant between himself and Markle. Markle really losing time now as he's probably abused those soft tires in the opening laps of this Grand Prix. 1.4 seconds is the gap now. Ben with really smooth operation and continues to close the gap now on Foursquare. Can he get some slipstream down to Kemmel Straight? .2 seconds, the gap now. And gaining now over 2 seconds. Ben has to Markle. Ben now closing it up to 1 second between Foursquare and himself. Had a little moment there on the exit of the corner heading to the double left-hander. But once again he chases Foursquare. 1 second the advantage now. Hoping and praying to break into that 1 second bracket by the time they come around to DRS detection. 8 tenths is the gap. And Ben goes wide! Not the moment he wanted to go wide. And the gap opens once again now, 1.2 seconds. Being a little too greedy that time round. Caught Ben out on the exit of the double right-hander. And Foursquare takes to the pit lane. A caution in sector 2. Dan has gone around and is now taking over the 6th position. Invader goes by. Markle follows suit of Foursquare.
I drifted those entire 2 corners without hitting a wall.
Foursquare goes and fits the mediums. Markle does the same. Malenko into the pit lane now. Malenko also fits the mediums. So Foursquare comes out.
To fix your wing and they don't. Well.
Foursquare comes out with a 2.5 second advantage over Markle. Markle about 10 seconds over Malenko. Malenko nearing 30 seconds, 20 seconds. As the scoring updates that time around, 17 seconds over Invader, who has a 3.5 second gap over Dan. We wait for Ben to make his first pit stop. He'll be the only driver to have yet pitted.
What is the fast lap of the race?
A 1:49.5.44. Foursquare holds the fastest lap. He set that on soft tires very early in the Grand Prix as the skies have decided to give way to the sun. This track is starting to brighten up here. The track here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Ben working his way to the pit lane now. 17 second advantage he had over Foursquare. Here we go. Fitting the medium tires now. Foursquare coming through the chicane. Ben down and away. Foursquare on the front stretch. Ben heading into turn 1. Ben has the glory of shortcutting it, but he won't be up to speed. Foursquare takes over the race lead. Ben comes out right behind Foursquare, trying to slipstream to get up to speed. Beautiful. The overcut has turned out to work for Ben. So I have a huge chance at overtaking Foursquare here down the Camel Street, and back up front goes Ben over Foursquare. As we work lap number 10 of 22, the overcut has worked for Ben. Markle 2.5 seconds back. He has closed time to this battle. If these drivers continue the battle, he will be in the catbird seat. Markle will be. Foursquare on the aggressive to try to stay with Ben, who has a fresher set of tires than he does by 1 lap. And 1 lap on a 4-mile circuit is huge. But here goes Ben. He goes around. And Markle now goes by Ben for second. Ben has now got it back under control and is right behind the dart of Markle. From leading to third, once again, another mistake out of Ben. Now Ben hopes that Markle is able to close the gap that Foursquare has over Markle. Markle has 2.2 seconds now.
Oh, I didn't know I had to.
And now looking to the left side goes Ben into the chicane, trying to outbrake one another. Markle able to get back out in front of Ben, clear for second at the moment. 2.4 seconds the gap now as they cross the start and finish line. 2.5. Ben examining the gearbox of that dart with his front wing. The back wing open on the white, blue, and gold number 24. Ben pulls out to pass. And completing the overtake on Markle up to second goes Ben once more. 2.4 seconds the gap between Foursquare and Ben. This time around we'll be halfway through the Belgian Grand Prix. What a lead battle we have so far. Ben now closing the gap, 1.7 seconds between himself and Foursquare. Markle this time wants to stay in the toe of Ben. He doesn't want to lose touch with Ben. Because Ben, if Markle plays his cards right, will lead Markle right into a 3-car battle for the win. Ben going wide on the exit of the first of the 2 double right-handed corners there. 1.7 seconds the gap up the hill. They head to the chicane that leads them to the front straightaway. Here we go. Markle with the slipstream. And a caution in sector 2. Once again, that is Dan finding the same corner that's given him trouble all day long.
My tires are junk too, so that's fine.
And Ben sets the fastest lap, a 1:49.082 on 2 lap-old mediums. And Ben, now 1.2 seconds the gap between himself and Foursquare. And Ben has Markle in tow. Markle with the DRS and the slipstream on Ben. Ben with the slipstream on Foursquare. Foursquare looking to break the slipstream. Down the Camel Street we go. 1 second the advantage. Markle runs right into the ass of Ben.
I could not break.
Markle under very difficult conditions arrow-wise. Right behind the white, blue, and gold number 24. Had trouble under braking and finds his front wing to have examined Ben's gearbox thoroughly.
That sounds great.
Now Markle just over a second back from Ben. That was not the mistake Markle wanted to make. He still had a chance at being in the lead battle, but if Ben and Foursquare get to work. Markle will have his shot once again. Markle trying to keep within 1 second of Ben. 0.8 of a second that time round. Up the hill we go. Now Markle's over a second behind as Ben is on the aggressive and looking to continue to close the gap on Foursquare. Looking to the left side, maybe Foursquare, a huge opportunity to break the momentum of Ben, and he takes it. Markle still over 1 second back of Ben. That time crossed the start-finish line. As the track becomes hotter, the track becomes more slick, and these drivers continue to use their tires, and the tires will have less grip. Down to Kemmel Straight we go. Ben, a huge dive ball to the inside of Foursquare, looking for the race lead, attacking the curbing on the right. Foursquare attacks the curbing on the left, and there goes Ben to the race lead. Foursquare's not done. Right on the gearbox of Ben as they fight through the carousel. Foursquare looking for every advantage he can get. Invaders, he's crashed it. A DNF now from Invader. Will this bring out the safety car? A logo yellow in Sector 1. I don't believe it will, but we still await official decision from the stewards. The in-game stewards, I should say. And now, the top three equidistant from one another once again. Foursquare trying to stay in the slipstream of Ben. And that incident has cleared itself. There will not be a safety car. But I believe that is the first retirement of the season. And it was Invader. Invader, do you hear me? Alright, we're not able to get a post-incident interview with Invader. But back to the lead battle. Foursquare, Markle going toe-to-toe here. Ben has 1.2 seconds over Foursquare, and Foursquare continues to lose time over Ben. 1.4 seconds. Now Markle pulls out to pass. Markle's about had enough of being behind Foursquare and continue to lose his chance at trying to win the Grand Prix. Five and 4 lap-old tires these drivers have. Markle now looks to be the chasee and try to catch Ben through this tight and technical section of the circuit. A fast but technical section of the circuit. As Dan has proven time and time again, this track is really treacherous, even in dry conditions.
I just have a problem in one corner.
Ooh, cut that one.
And Ben going wide through the first of the two double right-hander corners. Up the hill we go. Markle 1.3 seconds back of Ben. Foursquare in the shadows, in slipstream. Markle trying to optimize his exit onto the front stretch. Markle sets the fastest lap, a 1:49.048.
I just wish I had DRS one lap.
Markle does not have the benefit of DRS this time around.
I wish my steering wheel didn't disconnect from the table.
Is that you, Invader?
Yeah.
Alright, so now that we got you, You want to kind of go into what happened there, and we weren't able to see your incident, so kind of go into some detail about it too, if you don't mind.
The first one, I tried to pull out to the inside of Phase there and follow foursquare around him in the turn, and the steering wheel disconnected from the table. So when I turned, it just went hard right. Took a spin. So I don't know if I made contact with Phase or not, but yeah, that wasn't the best. The second one, I was pushing too hard to catch Phase up through a rouge, caught the inside of the little right-hander there, which is a no-no. As soon as you catch the curve, you're launched.
Just letting you know, you didn't have to push that hard to get me. You could have just passed me. My thing's in AI. I'm eating a sandwich.
Oh.
I've been eating a sandwich ever since I pitted.
Oh, nice. But yeah, I was pushing a little bit hard there, so caught the inside of that right-handed turn, and it just shot me across the track, and tried to let off the gas, and couldn't correct it, so just went head first.
Well, you hate to see it, and Ben will set the fastest lap as there's a caution sectors 1 and 2.
That incident was hysterical.
Ben fastest lap, Dan die.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know if anybody saw that besides me, but that was hysterical.
We were not able to catch that.
Caught, and I just like pancaked into the tire barrier. I'm wide.
And Dan, definitely not an incident-free driver today, but shockingly, still able to drive that car around.
Shockingly is an understatement. I hit that wall a ton.
So Ben's fastest lap was overshadowed by his brother's own mistake. So Ben was able to set the fastest lap, a 1:48.855 on a 6-lap-old set of mediums.
Underhanded digs at Dan twice. As Dan shows, this track is hard. I'm surprised Dan is still on the racetrack.
I am too.
The biggest digs.
Let's see
I'm
if
100% surprised I am still in this race.
let's see if Dan can stay on the lead lap. 1 minute 17.5 seconds back of brother Ben.
Brother Ben.
Pun intended.
Anyway, as Ben holds a 1.7 second advantage, 6 laps remaining here in the Belgian Grand Prix, has one lap fresher tires than Markle.
Oh, that's a bouncy.
Make sure when those 3 get to you, just destroy them so my AI can win. Then we can mark. Then we can mark on the wins list right at the bottom. AI.
Crash my brother.
Yes. So we can put on the wins list AI.
Foursquare has now lost touch with this lead battle, if that's what you would call it. Now 5 seconds behind Ben and another 3 seconds behind Markle.
I'm 19 seconds behind Mal. That's AI.
Markle trying desperately to prove that his 1 second faster lap time in qualifying was not a fluke, and try to save his own self a victory.
What the hell?
Watched after 1 week. The de facto champion 1 week. Next week, kinda is there.
Unless we want to infer maybe Ben sandbagged a little bit or had a mistake on his qualifying lap.
I think Dan's proven to form though, 2 weeks in a row, or 2.
Yeah, our 2-time series champion.
Yeah, Dan
2-time series champion, 11-time Grand Prix winner, has had a lot of troubles here to start the 3rd season of F1 racing. Oh my lord.
Oh, I already knew I wasn't going to enjoy life in F1.
We expect Dan to make a full recovery to his prime time form
This is Malenko's
in the
least
coming
favorite track coming
weeks.
into the season. So.
And we expect a little bit more out of Malenko, but we'll see if he can make his go back to his
Next week
faster
close
ways.
the buffet. That's all I'm gonna tell you. We
Next
can't
week-
have a driver's buffet then. Just how it's gonna have to be.
2.1 seconds the advantage now Ben has over Markle. Markle again trying desperately. He has kept Ben, who has a lap fresher tires, from extremely opening up that gap. But it's not
And
done.
on the safe side, I think we shouldn't have beds either.
But Marco has not done much to close the gap. Again, Marco does have the disadvantage of having a lap older tires than Ben. And as we get later and later into the stint, tire life will become a premium.
Motorsports.
.9 seconds the gap now Ben has over Markle. We're coming up
Good
to
exit out of that test turn there.
4 laps remaining for the Belgian Grand Prix. And Markle setting the fastest lap, a 1:48.777 on
teammate.
10 lap old mediums.
Yeah, carry the team. I'll make sure to beat Dan. Yeah, I can do it, I guess.
10 lap old mediums, but Markle
It's taking a
still
second out of you a lap.
Markle's still not able to close the gap to Ben. In fact, he's lost time to Ben. 2.1 seconds the gap now.
Don't worry, I'll make a mistake here. I'll still beat me.
Thanks for letting me know. I'll make sure to inform the AI so he doesn't overdrive and wreck.
1.9 seconds the gap once again between Ben and Marco. Marco had a huge moment out of the left-hander after the carousel. Lost some time there. The gap's opened back up to 2.1 seconds. Ben holding station now, 3.5 laps remaining here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Ben, 3.5 laps is all he's got to drive perfectly.
And that dude's a retard. He said, "You're in the top 10 now. Good going." Fucking idiot.
Thanks, Jeff.
I love when they tell you you're in the top 10 when you're in the lead. Nice top 10. Nigga, I'm in the lead.
Only 5 running.
3 laps remaining. The gap 2.6 seconds, and tires now into the double digits on the time they have been on the racetrack. Foursquare has taken to the pit lane. He says, you know what, if I can't win it, I'm at least going to gain a point for fastest lap, and I believe that's what he's going to do. He's going to fit a set of softs and go for the fastest lap. And Markle continues to lose time to Ben. Now 3 seconds. The gap is now. Also, after the race, it's going to be interesting to see, does Invader get 6th place points? He, I don't believe, completed 90% of the Grand Prix in order to be classified. But we'll check out exactly when he DNF'd. But I don't believe so, because I believe 90% of this Grand Prix would be now and to the
You
end of
worked
the
on
Grand-
like lap 13.
Yeah, and I believe
Yeah.
90% is 20 laps.
Well, you can tell it's definitely not 90%. We just barely complete 50%.
Yeah.
No, cause you still in AR. You actually driving now.
Oh, I started driving half a lap ago. Finished my sandwich. Wasn't bad.
2
That's
laps
better, though.
remaining. Here, the spot for Anker Shepson. Markle has taken to the pit lane.
Trying to cover that fastest lap, huh?
I'm gonna catch Ben.
So
Yeah,
Markle has
he's pulling
given
out
up
about 3 or
any
4 tenths
chance
a lap.
at Ben making a mistake, which Ben has not been clean in terms of making a mistake this Grand Prix. He's made a few. But Marco's thrown in the towel. He's going to go for the fastest lap point as well. Markle holds that at the moment. Foursquare now begins his 2-lap attempt at the fastest lap. Markle will have 1 lap at covering that up. So now Ben has no reason to push this car any harder. 21.5 seconds he has over Markle. But 11 lap old tires. I don't believe there's a threat at their life, but can he make it the next lap and a half on these tires? The battle for the 4th position starting to pick up here. 83 seconds behind Ben.
Hell yeah, bro. We got this.
2 laps remaining.
I got the perfect lap time. 6:69.
2 laps remaining for Malenko and Dan
Nice.
to go at it. The difference here between these 2 positions is 2 points.
Sorry, giggity.
That's better.
Oh, got DRS.
I'm in rich reds and you're still faster than me on the straight line. Very concerning.
So Dan has 3 lap fresher tires than Malenko does. Malenko's 12 lap old mediums to Dan's 9 lap old mediums.
Yeah,
Markle
but my AIs took really good care of my tires. Really have any
now
wear on them.
takes to the start finish line. He will start his attempt to set the fastest lap. Foursquare a 1:48, 1:88. Ben about 2/3 of a lap remaining and 20 seconds is the gap.
Pressure's on, Markle.
Malenko and Dan going toe to toe. Still a lap and a half to go. Dan goes wide. That may seal it for Malenko, but there's still a lap.
Malcolm went wide too.
Yeah. He hit that grass right there on the exit.
I'm trying to get something out of my teeth.
I was driving with one hand till I pitted. I was trying to fix the steering wheel.
And now starting the final lap, 86 seconds behind Ben is Malenko and Dan. Speaking of Ben, he now rounds the 3rd to last corner. And into the chicane we go.
That's a good exit.
Damn. Should have let Ben just lap me.
Back to his winning form for his 11th career EWRL Grand Prix, and Ben sets the fastest lap, a 1:48, 1:38 on 13 lap old mediums. Now the pressure's on Markle to cover that one up.
Whoa.
Ah!
Whoa.
Contact for the 4th position, and Markle a 1:46, 8:89. He will take the fastest lap, unless Foursquare has something to say.
I know
to
I'm
the
slow
start.
with my broke ass wing, but damn.
Foursquare is swerving to the start finish line. He will not have something to say. And now the battle for 4th is
There it
raging
goes.
on between
Oh, that's
Malenko and
tricky.
Dan. Almost making contact. Dan to the 4th position. Can Malenko get him back there side by side into the S's? Dan almost cuts him off. This is going to go right down to the wire. Tune in on the post-race show for this finish. And Malenko goes so wide off the the corner, and he will crash the car on the final lap of the Belgian Grand Prix, and now Dan will cruise.
I just tried to full throttle that bitch so I could just ram Dan in the back in the final corner.
And tune in tomorrow night to see Dan come home 89.5 seconds behind.
My AI is dead. That's confused.
That's great.
Dan will finish 4th. And Malenko, DNFs on the final lap. He did complete 90%.
No, not dies.
He does complete 90% of the Grand Prix and will be classified at the classification, but I can't say the same for Invader.
That's 2 lives taken in 1 year.
Yeah. Won't get a big old goose egg, I believe.
And Marco was able to cover up that fastest lap. How about that? 2 separate battles on the final lap, but there was only one battle that was actually close on the racetrack. Foursquare, and unknowingly Ben had a shot, but Marco was able to cover up the fastest lap. Malenko and Dan went toe-to-toe to the 5th to last corner on the circuit when Malenko found the left side tire barrier to be very fitting for his race car. So Ben takes the victory here for the Belgian Grand Prix, his 11th career Grand Prix victory here in EWRL's F1 Series. Dan and his Ben ties his brother for the top of the F1 all-time wins list with 11 Grand Prix victories apiece. That'll be fun to see how this goes on later in the season. Markle does come home 2nd with the fastest lap, and Foursquare does round out the podium. Let's get some comments from Foursquare, who leaves the party. Let's get. All right, Markle, go ahead and tell me about how your race went. How you went from over a 2nd over the rest of the competition and qualifying to somehow edging out that very last lap for the fastest lap. I know you wanted to win, but 2nd place is still good. Just go ahead and tell me about your day and how all that went down.
Car felt like ass compared to qualifying. That's what happened.
I believe it was the difference.
I had a little bit of wing damage too, apparently. So.
Okay. Was there anything you could have done differently to try to win that Grand Prix?
Have no wing damage.
Very straightforward and simple. Congratulations on the 2nd place finish and that point for the fastest lap. Thank you. And now we'll go ahead and we'll find Ben here. Ben, how about that? Does it feel good after a bit to kind of get that Grand Prix victory and tie your brother? How was that Grand Prix? In just your eyes and with Markle all Grand Prix long.
I did too, Ben. I had 4 laps extra. Yeah, Ben, I have balance. I don't know what you were using. Yeah, I always use balanced, so.
So how about qualifying? Were you worried at all when Markle blew out your lap time in qualifying? Okay. Alright, well, that is that. Congratulations on the Grand Prix victory. That was fun all the way down to the wire. The battle for the lead was very interesting all race long, and then the battle for 4th was also fun to the 5th to last corner of the race. The battle for the fastest lap was also interesting.
You're welcome.
So, a lot of battles all through the day. Glad you could tune in. Join us next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for the Mexican Grand Prix.
Nice.
It'll be right here, the 3rd Grand Prix of the season, and we will see you then.
Time.